Hello and welcome back to my channel. Now, if you've watched my channel for a while, you've seen that I tried to show you Excel esports cases from various different regions, including worlds. But there is one region that I haven't shown yet, and it's a pretty big gap because it's probably one of the bigger, more experienced regions on the circuit, and that is the Excel Brazilian Championship. Well, this ends today because I finally signed up for FMWC Brazil. I signed up for the postseason events. And today what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you the qualifier case from this year's postseason. Now, if you are interested in signing up for the Microsoft Excel World Championship, especially if you haven't pre-qualified for it, this case is actually the same format as the qualification round in that event. So a couple of big differences. Number one, all of the levels are separate from each other. They're usually featured on a different case, like a previous case. And this one, in fact, is very interesting. There are 7 levels, and each one, I believe, is based on the 7 rounds so far in this year's Road to Las Vegas series. So we've got a round from We're Not in Kansas Anymore, a round from Who Done It, a round from I'm Just Wild About Harry, and so on. But in this one, there is a twist to every round. If you've played this before, you'll see the twists as I'm going through them. Pretty fun, though. Pretty fun challenge with them. Although the timing is not very good for me, I actually did attempt this case live, and I actually did an all right job. But, as is typical in my competitions, reading got the best of me. There was one of the levels in this case where I missed an important instruction, and that cost me just about 100 points. So in this video today, I am going to show you how I would properly solve the case. If you play this yourself, hopefully you can get some ideas and hints from it. If not, maybe you could consider giving this a try on your own. It's a very fun summary of all the Road to Las Vegas cases that we've seen so far. Another big difference is that this is not a typical 30-minute case. Competitors are actually given 1 hour to solve all the levels. And as you can notice on my scoreboard, there is no bonuses in this case. So you can imagine that the difficulty may be a bit stepped up for what you would normally expect. But with the extra time, hopefully that means, you get some time to think through it, work through it, and try to solve all of the levels. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and give this case a try, and let's see how I would solve it. Here we go. Level 1 asks us, using the artist's replica, count how many pixels were painted for each reference, using the legend beside the image as a color guide. Now what you're going to see me do here is you're going to see me use a typical strategy of finding and replacing by the cell's format. Basically, I'm going to look for the cell by its background color and then use that to fill in the information in each of the cells. But interestingly, halfway through my attempt at doing this, it's actually going to stop working. It's not going to find any cells anymore. So then that leads me to have to start to do this process manually, which introduces the risk of human error in this process. So it's a very risky move, but you're going to see at the end, I'm going to check to make sure all my cells are filled. Once they're all filled, then I'm going to count the cells for each of those reference names, and those are going to be my answers for this level. Level 2 is from the second case in the Road to Las Vegas series called Who Done It. Basically, we are given an original message all in some kind of code, and we are asked to re-encrypt it or reconfigure the message to fit a certain set of rules. So what you're going to see me do here is first I'm going to bring the code to the main sheet so that I can work on it row by row and just keep it within the sheet while I have the instructions next to me. And then I'm just going to have to go through each part of the code. So how many spaces are in the code, how many unique characters are in the code, how many repeated characters are in the code, and so on. And after I do that, then I can take all of the information that I have, combine them together using the exclamation mark as the separating character, and that is going to be the answer that this level is looking for. Level 3 is from the I'm Just Wild About Harry case, the third case of the series. We are given a large map on the map sheet, and we are talking about walking around the beach from a starting location to an ending location and seeing how many moves that it's going to take. Now, once again, first thing I want to do is I want to highlight just only the beach cells, but when I try to highlight from the format, it's not working for me. Now, I find this very odd because in the actual competition, it did work for me. So if you have any clue as to why I'm not able to find cells by format, please do let me know in the comments. But you're going to see that once again, I'm going to have to highlight everything by hand. And just like I mentioned before, there's the risk of human error. And since I'm doing it, that risk is pretty high. But fortunately, this time around, I seem to have covered all of the beach cells. And then I'm going to use a recursive kind of reiterative formula to calculate the distance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my addresses for the starting point and ending point into row and column references. And then you're going to see me add a key to the side and the bottom of the map saying which row and which column that this cell is in. One final trick you're going to see me do is once I add those references in, I copy and paste those in as hard-coded values, meaning they won't change. I'm going to add a row at the top and add a column to the left of the map. The reason why I'm doing this is because when I do this, now I can use that same formula and I don't have to worry about going out of bounds from the Excel sheet. It's just going to see a blank cell. It's going to be like, okay, blank cell. Everything's cool. It doesn't like when you try to use an address like A0 or something like that. But anywho, once I get all of these in, and you're going to see me run through a data table. Now, what I notice is in the data table, some of my answers are going to be above 100. And I know that Excel's default number of reiterative calculations is 100. So in order to keep myself safe, I want that default number of reiterative calculations to go above my highest answer. That's going to let me know that I'm covering all of the steps. And in fact, during the live cell, I got one of the questions wrong simply because I did not have the correct number of reiterative calculations. So I'm going to set these to 200, and once they're at 200, I've noticed none of my answers are going above 200, so I can feel comfortable with these and use these for the answers for this level. Level 4 is from the Formula Bar and Grill. Now, when I originally solved this case, you may have noticed that I had to do a lot of data cleaning to get the information the way that I wanted. Well, now I'm kind of a little bit more familiar with regular expressions, and so I'm going to actually use this to try to pull the data out, and I'm going to do it in a little bit more cleaner way. So first thing I want to do is I want to change the orders. When someone says a sandwich or a ham and cheese and so on, I want to change that to one sandwich, one ham and cheese. I want that number there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these items in the item list and I'm going to combine them together. But I'm going to combine them in a way that tells the regex formula that I want to look for any one of these words. And you see what I do is I'm going to put them inside parentheses. I'm going to put the long pipe between them. And that's going to tell the regex formula to look for any of these. So it's like an OR kind of thing. When I do my formula, I'm going to enter it to look for this pattern. I want to look for at least one digit, followed by a space, followed by any of those words. Now, when I do that, all of the order is going to come out very nicely. All the items are going to be put into their separate cells. And when they're put into their separate cells like that, then it's going to be so much easier to work with to try to put the formula together. Now, at the start of the video, I said that there was one instruction that I completely kind of missed, and this is what happened. Basically, the instructions add an extra note at the last few lines. If there are 13 or more items, there's a different format to write the answer. You're going to write the numbers before the items instead of writing all the codes out separately. So you're going to see me do an if statement here at the end once I calculate the total number of items for each order. And then based on that if statement, that's going to tell me, am I just going to list out code, or am I going to list out the quantity within the code and put that all together to submit that for my answer? Level 5. This is from Bit of Music by Julien Lacaze. This is the case that I qualified in. So in this version of the case, we are going to take a decimal audio signal, convert that into a binary number, and basically what we want to do is we want to find all the binary numbers of a certain length within that binary. So in the example, the decimal audio signal is 20. The binary code for that is 10100. That's a 5-digit binary code. But we want to look for all the 4-digit codes within that. So we're going to look at the first 4, we're going to look at the second 4. There is no third 4, so that's all that we're going to look at. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add up those binary numbers, convert those back into decimal, add them together, and then we're going to take that binary code and reverse it. And we're going to do the same thing with the reversed binary code. And the answer to this level is going to be the absolute difference from the sum of the normal direction binary codes converted back into decimal and the sum of the reversed binary codes converted back into decimal. And that's going to get us the answers to level 5. Level 6, now we're working with scars, and this level is asking us to find the total production cost of these 3 scars, or the scars from these 3 cities. Now what we are given is we are given a discount amount, and back over on the scarf list we are given the price for each of the colors. So what we need to do here is we need to figure out how many colors are used in all the scars combined. Based on that, find out what the discount rate was and take that discount rate out of the original price of each color. After we do that, we can add the final costs together, all the colors, the cost of all the colors together, round that up to the nearest whole number, and that will give us the answers for level 6. Finally, level 7, lost instructions. We just had this case of the worlds only a few days ago, and now we already have it in this Brazil case. So we are given a whole bunch of series of players' answers, but we are not given any information about instructions, about numbers, what they mean. And just to make it harder on us, half the players' answers are in a vertical layout and half of them are in a horizontal layout. And the task that is given to us is find either the average, sum, max, or min of all of the answers before or below a certain criterion, a certain question. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to take all of my answers and combine them into one large table. Now the first player, I'm going to include the question numbers because that's going to be basically my left-hand column is going to be the question numbers, and then all the following columns are going to be all the players' answers to those questions. I'm also going to use the same naming structure that I did when I originally saw this case. So I'm going to use the Q's for the question numbers and the A's for the answers. Once I do that, I can then filter that list based on the criterion that's given me onto this main sheet. And after I do this, I am going to attempt something new in Excel. I haven't done any thunking before, or at least I believe this is thunking. And what you're going to see is you're going to see me add a switch statement. And in this switch statement, I'm going to check the operation that each of the levels have given us. But then based on that operation, I am just going to type the function name. I am not going to type in the parentheses or any of the criteria within the function. I'm going to put the parentheses and the criteria actually after this switch statement. And basically the way that this works is because average, sum, max, and min are all within the same format. They all take one or multiple criteria. They're all a certain range of numbers and they'll do a certain math formula to it. I can use this as a kind of a more flexible way to calculate the answers for this level. So you're going to see two parts to my formula. You're going to see the thunking part where I'm only going to bring out the formula name, and the second part is going to be that subset of data that I'm working with. And once I get those two together, that is going to give me all of the answers to level 7. And that will bring this case to a close if I can press that pause button. So on my second attempt on this case, it took me just about 30 minutes and 35 seconds. Still not as fast as Jean from Germany. Wow. If you haven't seen it, I'll have a link in the description where the FMWC Brazil guys talk about the case and the results. But he was able to do this case on the first look in under 28 minutes. So hats off to you, my friend. But yeah, this was a very fun case. And like I mentioned earlier, it takes all of the cases we've done so far in the Road to Las Vegas series, but adds an extra twist to them. I think every one of these levels had a certain twist, something that we hadn't actually done before with these cases. So props to Klinsman for writing this case. Thank you to the FMWC Brazil team for allowing me to sign up, allowing me to participate. This was a fun case. I'm looking forward to all the other cases in the postseason, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Vegas when we get there. If you're watching this video, if you're watching my channel for the first time, thank you for coming. I hope you enjoy this content. If you do, make sure to give a like, make sure to give a subscribe. If you're interested in trying this out on your own, check out the description in this video or some other videos. I typically include a link where you can either purchase and download the case and try it for yourself. Or if you look at other channels, Dearmid Early especially has, I'm going to call it Dim's List. It's going to be a list of cases, but also a list of free cases if you want to try some out on your own. But that's a wrap for this video. Once again, thank you for watching and staying tuned, and I look forward to seeing you for the next video.
It's the XL.